you meet some of your heroes growing up and you expect them to be all rough and gruff, and it's the opposite. I think the more metal sometimes, the nicer the people are. Blackbird.
That's easy, yeah. Blackbird would probably be the top of the heap. I mean, that was probably the song that took us longest to finish. And I think in a lot of ways, that song is probably the reason we're still here.
Most important song of our career.
Without a doubt. It's so far above anything else we're going to name in this, you know, the other 4 songs, because of the fact that that was during a period where we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know if we were going to get to make another record.
First record had nothing like it.
Had nothing like it. And we really, you know, we were adamant about finishing that song, but it was proving to be very difficult. The parts weren't coming. We just could not seem to seal the deal. And I will never forget it as long as I live, that afternoon when we finally, it happened really quick. I remember you had that awesome guitar part at the beginning, and I think we might have even had up to the dome, blah, 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 blah. And then we just couldn't figure out where to go from there.
We were so excited about that we had going so far.
Yeah.
And then with 6/8 songs, sometimes it's tough. Choruses are a different approach. It's tougher.
Yeah. And that afternoon when we finally got all the rest of the pieces put together, and it came quick, but it was a thing you dream of as a creative, where you're like, it's like the sky opens and you've been hitting your head against the wall, and then finally it's like, there's the door, and you just open it and you just walk in, and there it is. And I get goosebumps even talking about it. It was just such a rush. So we finish, and we used to record everything on my little laptop just to document it. So we went back to his house, because I was basically living with them at the time. And I went back and listened to the work that we did that day. And I just called, I said, Mark, you gotta come check this out, man. And we both sat there in the room I was staying in, and we were just like, I think that's when I knew. I was like, we just broke through a major point in this band's evolution, and it's never been the same since.
Well, that you look at the opening track on the next record, Slip to the Void, and how spooky and mysterious that was. You know, that wasn't going on the first record either, you know, and even the whole Blackbird record was pretty much written. Blackbird was the last song we wrote on that album. So the rest of the Blackbird record was a little moodier. It's one of my favorite records we've ever done. But Blackbird was really the standout track of that record, as far as being something different that we hadn't done before. And from that moment on, it's like, how can we keep opening doors creatively with the band? And
yeah, Metalingus, you know, that was off the first record, and that song, I think more than anything, just because, you know, once your buddy Adam picked it up,
yeah,
you know, that was the gateway drug for so many fans. You know, I think if you probably asked a certain percentage of our fan base, how did you discover Alter Bridge, they would say Metalingus through, you know. Yeah.
Through Edge, yeah.
On this day, I see clearly everything has come to life.
I've found through life that when you meet these people that are tough guy, like Metal, or like Adam when he's on film, you meet him off stage, he's the nicest person you'll ever meet in your life. He's a Canadian. Usually Canadians are really nice and soft-spoken.
Yeah, right.
And I remember that when I was first touring over here in Europe, playing with metal bands, and you meet some of your heroes growing up and you expect them to be all rough and gruff, and it's the opposite. I think the more metal sometimes, the nicer the people are.
I'm trying to remember, was Isolation, did that go to, was that like a kind of a radio? Yeah, that might have been our first, like, we're talking about how we kind of shunned radio and doing that, but that was one that we had enough of a success in that it helped, I guess, expose people to the band a little bit more.
But you know, that the whole radio thing being different than it used to be, like, it's not having that #1 song, it still didn't outshine our other songs. Like a song like Rise Today, that never, I don't know what, it probably went to
Yeah, I think it did.
Maybe a top 10 song or something.
Yeah.
But that's a song that if we didn't play it at a show, fans would probably think something was wrong with us. You know?
I'll never forget our agent at the time. And we kind of had disappeared for a little bit. And I think people were like, oh, are they going to, because they've been gone long enough, or because I think the first Creed reunion kind of happened. I think I'd been doing stuff with Slash at that point. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. So I think some people were like thinking maybe we were left for dead at that point. And then I remember our agent at the time was like, we'd announced the tour and it suddenly was selling really well. And I remember he said, you know, well, I guess distance makes the heart grow fonder, you know? And I was like, yeah, I guess I was totally surprised. Yeah, right. That's one of my personal favorites. For me, that chorus is such a anthemic, easy to sing. It's funny because it's early on when we started working together. I remember Mark would play some ideas that he had, and it's how it works. You know, these writers, you just kind of throw stuff back and forth. And I remember he kind of played it in passing, just like, hey, I've got this little thing, yeah. And then it went on to, whoa. What was that?
You're singing like that, sounds like a Beach Boys song.
I was like, whoa. We stopped to, like, let's back up, play that again. And I remember, for me, like the first pass of just hearing that idea was like, that's a big hook. We gotta really hone in on that bad boy right there. And then, once again, I think there's some. I remember lyrically, because it was a little bit of like, because I knew the magnitude of, I knew what that could be, right? So I remember, I don't know if I ever told you this, I must have rewritten that lyric 20 times. I mean, I remember sitting at this little kitchen table at my house and just rewrite after rewrite after rewrite, just beating it to a pulp. And because I knew that was going to be an important track. So I'm happy with how it turned out. And it's great. We just played a show the other day. We did a little acoustic thing in Germany. It's a little at the Ramones. What do they call the place? It's really cool. It's
Like a Ramones museum.
yeah, it's really cool. So we played the 5 songs we were supposed to play, but then the handful of people that were there were like, play another song. We're like, what should we do? And for me, I'm like, well, easy peasy. Let's just do Rise Day, because even if we screw it up, you know, we haven't played in a while together, they'll know I can just sing, yeah, no Rise today. And it's just it's a great song to get, you know, the everybody singing in the crowd. And you can talk about In Loving Memory.
Yeah, so I kind of consider those songs like almost like when Queen would have one song play right before the next. I forget that there's the 2 of them that they do. There's a few medleys that you hear on the radio. I kind of think of Watch Over You and In Loving Memory because we always perform them together as a mood in itself. But In Loving Memory started, that was on the first record. The first time we used the open G tuning, which turned into something that we've used a bunch over the years. I wrote that song about my mother, and it was a tough one to write. Like talking about writing lyrics, I think I wrote enough lyrics for an entire record about that one. But we do that one live a lot. It's great for our set list to have dynamics, and that's when we'll come out, me and Myles. And we might change it up now, but because we've done it so many times. But Myles will come up and he'll do Watch Over You by himself, and then I'll come up and do In Loving Memory with him. And it's just a side of our songwriting that we like, the singer-songwriter stuff, the emotional ballad that we loved listening to when we were younger. And it's just a side of the melodic sensibility that we like to keep intact for the band, even if you hear some of these more metal-leaning songs. We're still saps for the melodies.
Every rocker has a soft side.
That's right.